Hello, and thank you for joining the ARC of Fort Bend County Parent Education and Support Group meeting on Zoom today. I'm Carrie Axtell, the Advocacy and Youth Programs Director. Our group meets virtually on the second Thursday each month throughout the school year, and we start with an educational presentation. So I do invite you to stick around afterwards for the support group where you can ask questions and share your experiences and just seek additional resources if you'd like. The ARC of Fort Bend County is a nonprofit organization established in 1968 for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, also known as IDD. We ensure opportunities for people with IDD and their families to maximize their quality of life within our community. We do that through disability rights advocacy for and with people with IDD, and we provide information about community services and resources, organize resource fairs, support groups for parents, as well as their teen and adult siblings. And we also hold several social and recreational programs for people in their teens, 20s, and into mature adulthood. We're also home to the largest Special Olympics delegation for adults in the region, offering 11 different sports with over 130 athletes. If you'd like to learn more about us here at the ARC, you can visit us at arcoffortbend.org and check out our Instagram or Facebook page. And you can also reach out to me. I've put my contact information there in the chat box. And also, if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to type them in the chat box, and then I will share them with our presenter at the end. And then, of course, you can feel free at the end of the presentation if you'd like to ask questions as well. But if this is your first time joining us, welcome. There's some exceptional professionals here in the community who share their knowledge and experience with us. And this month, we are pleased to welcome Anna Mallett with the Office of the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts. And she's going to be here to talk to us about the Texas ABLE program. So Anna Mallett has worked for the Texas Comptroller's Office for 14 years and currently works as the program specialist for the Texas ABLE program. And that is the state savings plan for Texans with disabilities. Anna previously worked in marketing for the Texas Tuition Promise Fund and the state's, which is the state's 529 prepaid college savings plan. Anna has over 21 years of service with the state of Texas, including serving as a grant manager for the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles and public relations manager at the Texas Department of Transportation. Anna holds a bachelor's in communications from Southwest Texas State University, and she and her husband live in Austin and have two beautiful children, Brandon 18 and Lainey 6. Welcome, Anna. I'll turn the presentation over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carrie. Oh my goodness. What a nice introduction. I appreciate that. Hello, everyone. Thank you for I met Carrie a couple of months ago down in Sugar Land at the Special Olympics, and it was a great event. We had a table next to each other, and I got to learn about all the fabulous things about the ARC there in Fort Bend County. And she asked me to come and talk to you guys a little bit about the Texas ABLE program. So as Carrie mentioned, my name is Anna Mallett. I work with the Texas Comptroller's Office, and I am a program specialist for the Texas Achieving a Better Life Experience, or the Texas ABLE program. And so what I plan on covering today, just to kind of give you a little outline, I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of ABLE, what ABLE is, how it applies, how it came to be. We'll talk a little bit about the program basics. So who can open an ABLE account? How much can you put in the account? What is it to be used for? That type of thing. We'll talk a little bit, the second half, about the ABLE program here in Texas, and talk to you about how to get enrolled, different savings options, and maybe how to use the account. I'll leave you with some resources at the end, which you can find out on our website. And like Carrie mentioned, we'll circle back to any questions or do any Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, or we'll just open it up at the end for questions. So thank you all again, and thanks for the invitation. I'm happy to be here. So as Carrie mentioned, I'm a program specialist. I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not an attorney. And so I have to let you know before I begin, I'm going to cover just very, very high level information about ABLE. So I can't give tax advice, financial advice. There's strict laws against that. So we do have on our website a program disclosure statement, which contains all the regs and rules about ABLE. So we have to let you know up front that you can find that on our website. As Carrie mentioned, I will be sending a PDF of this presentation. She's going to send it out to you guys. So you're going to have all of this as well as the materials. So and my contact info and everything else. So we'll have all that included in the PDF. Let's talk really quick about the history of ABLE. I said ABLE, as I mentioned, stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience, right? So ABLE itself, it's a savings program. It's a savings program for individuals with disabilities and their families. It was created on the federal level back after a gentleman by the name of Stephen Beck. It was created back in 2014. And what it did was it created a new savings option for families to be able to save their own money, put it away in what we call an ABLE account, use the money in that account to pay for disability expenses, all while keeping eligibility for benefits. So this could be benefits they're receiving now or maybe in the future, right? So SSI, Medicaid, SSDI, HUD, all of the benefits, right? Being able to put their money away and save. Stephen Beck, the gentleman that the law was named after, was a disability advocate, but it's important because Stephen was also a parent of a child with special needs. And so the story is the law came about after Stephen, along with some other parents that had children with special needs, were talking about saving long-term for their children, right? The story is that they were sitting around his kitchen table one night and they were talking about those long-term saving strategies. And they were saying, how are we going to be able to put our own money away and still keep that eligibility for those important benefits, such as SSI and Medicaid, right? We want to be able to save equally for all of our children. And prior to ABLE, those families were not able to put that money away. So it really was a game changer for the way families can save. The other thing that the law did was it authorized states to administer the ABLE programs. This is important because there are 40 plus states that have ABLE programs across the United States. We obviously have one here in Texas. Some states are open to out-of-state residents. Texas is only open to Texas residents. But it's important because the only way an individual or their family can enroll in an ABLE program is through a state administered program. So here in Texas, it's through our website at texasable.org. So we being the comptroller's office, I'm a state employee, we administer the program here in Texas. So it was truly, like I said, a game changer for the way folks can save. So I mentioned that there are 40 plus states that have ABLE programs. We work with all of them to really spread the word about ABLE. And so we put together a little informational video. It's about a minute, maybe 2 minutes long. And I'm going to go ahead and play it for you now. Carrie, if there's a problem with hearing it, just give me a note via the video and I'll make some modifications here.
As someone who Down syndrome, this law was one of the best things that's happened to the disability community in a very long time.
In 2014, Congress passed the ABLE Act to help families with disabilities save for life.
The ABLE Act is a game changer for Americans living with disabilities, but there's a problem.
Only 50,000 Americans are currently using ABLE accounts to save.
And more than 14 million are eligible.
An ABLE account is a savings plan that people with disabilities or their families can use to save for someone with a disability the same way that people can save for someone without a disability.
Ethan has needed extensive dental work, which has cost thousands and thousands of dollars. You can go down the list and pretty much every part of his life took on an added expense.
ABLE allows people with disabilities to put money away that they can use in the future to cover essential life costs.
Without the risk of losing government disability benefits.
We save for Audrey through an ABLE account the same way that we save for my other daughter with a 529 college plan.
Before ABLE, people with disabilities who depended upon government benefits to cover the high cost of living with a disability couldn't have savings of more than $2,000 without risk of losing their benefits.
Nobody can live off $2,000.
This limitation made it extremely difficult for many people with disabilities to live independently.
Do you want to be in a place where you can live all by yourself and do all the things that you want to do in your dreams?
Yes.
With ABLE, you can save without losing SSI, Medicaid, HUD, and other important benefits.
ABLE allows you to set aside up to $15,000 each year.
If there's one thing you need to know about the ABLE account, it's that your money grows tax-free.
But the difference is that you can use it at any time to pay for any eligible disability related expense.
My favorite thing about ABLE is that it is flexible and simple, that I just go and sign up on the website and it's done and I'm saving.
Stable,
Dependable.
Capable.
Enable.
Available.
We need your help to spread the word on ABLE.
I'm excited to announce a new savings program for Texans with Disabilities administered through my office. It's called the Texas Achieving a Better Life Experience, or ABLE program. With the Texas ABLE program, eligible Texans with disabilities and their families can save money for short and long-term disability related expenses in a tax-advantaged account. For too long, many Texans with disabilities have been unable to work towards financial independence. Texans with disabilities now have a path towards a better future. Find out more today at texasable.org.
So yeah, that just is a nice overview of some of the slides that I'm going to cover kind of moving forward. But again, these ABLE accounts, these are your own private funds that are going in these accounts. These are tax advantaged accounts. And I'll talk about more of that in just a moment. So these are intended to supplement any other funding that you may be receiving through SSI or SSDI. By law, the beneficiary or the individual with the disability is the owner of the account, always. So whether they're 3 years old or whether they're 33 years old, they're always the owner of the account. And you can have one ABLE account per beneficiary. So you can't have an ABLE account here in Texas and then also have one in another state that it would accept an out-of-state residence. Those are all based on that federal law. Benefits of the ABLE account, the video touched on this, obviously saving and keeping that eligibility or that future eligibility for those benefits. This is important because, you know, sometimes we see families that may not be receiving benefits now, right? But could have the potential to receive, that child could have the potential to receive them in the future at transition time when they turn 18, they go to apply for benefits. They still can't have more than $2,000 in resources in their own name, right? In checking and savings accounts, but they can have much more in an ABLE account and still keep that eligibility. So that's very, very important. These are tax-free withdrawals if they're used for disability expenses. This is financial independence for working individuals or individuals who plan to work, right? In the future, being able to put their own money away and keep waiver services, keep health insurance, keep all those important benefits. Peace of mind for mom and dad, for family, in the event that they're no longer around, they would have a way to save for their child or their family member. Choice and control. An ABLE account, you decide how much money goes in, you decide how much you want, if you want to use it, when and where you want to use it. That's the beauty of the program. Anyone can contribute. So we'll talk about contribution limits in a minute, but individual with a disability can put money in, mom and dad can put money in. Certainly you can save in conjunction with a special needs trust. We see some of our families that do use special needs trust, and they're both savings tools for families. So very, very important to note. Based on that federal law, there are eligibility requirements as far as who is eligible to open the ABLE account. So the law says that the individual with a disability must have developed their disability before the age of 26, okay? They can be 56, they can be 3. As long as that disability occurred before the age of 26, In addition to that, they would have to meet one of the following criteria that you see here on the screen, okay? So if they're currently receiving or eligible to receive SSI or SSDI, and they meet that age requirement, they can open an ABLE, they're eligible to open the ABLE account. They can have a condition on the Social Security Administration's list of compassionate allowances. This is more of a rare illnesses and conditions that the Social Security Administration constantly updates. So you could find that information out there on their website. And that third way is going to be through a physician's diagnosis, or meaning the physicians would write a letter stating that the individual's disability did occur before the age of 26 and that they meet the definition of what the Social Security Administration actually qualifies someone as having a disability, which is results in marked or severe limitations expected to result in death or last longer than 12 months. So that's the definition there. So those are the three ways, along with that age requirement, to be eligible to open the account. So also by law, there are two ways as far as who can open the account, right? First of all, it's going to be that individual with a disability. They're a Texas resident, they're 18 years of age, they can certainly open and manage that account on their behalf, on their own. That's the beauty of the program. Or they can elect to have what we call an authorized legal representative open it and manage it on their behalf. Now, this is going to be a parent, a guardian, or some other form of fiduciary, somebody who would manage their finances. I will say that I did not update this slide, but there were recent regulations that just went into effect that expanded this list for authorized legal reps. So it now includes siblings, grandparents, what other Social Security rep payees are now considered authorized legal reps. So it really opened and expanded that list and opened the door on who could open it and manage it for those folks. Now, by law, there are contribution limits as far as how much that can go into an ABLE account in one taxable year. The video mentioned earlier $15,000 a year, and I just want to make a note that it has since increased up to $17,000 a year can go into an ABLE account in one taxable year. So this is from all sources combined. This could be individual with a disability. Could be mom, dad, grandpa can put that money in there in one taxable year. That's the max. If they are working individuals who are not contributing to a employer-sponsored retirement plan, they changed the law a couple years ago to allow for those individuals to actually save above and beyond that $17,000, an additional $13,590 in working wages. So that's up to almost $30,000 a year in an ABLE account for those individuals who are working. And the maximum that can go into an ABLE account in Texas is going to be $500,000. And so that's, on a side note, that's actually the 529 limit for the state of Texas. So I know Carrie mentioned in the very beginning, the 529 plans are college savings plans. Some of you may be familiar with that. ABLE accounts are almost sister accounts to the college savings accounts. They're 529A, which stands for ABLE. They're to be used for disability related expenses versus college savings. I digress, but the maximum is going to be that $500,000 for the state of Texas. Now, this is an important slide for folks who are receiving SSI, supplemental security income, or who will receive SSI in the future. What this slide says is essentially families can save up to $100,000 in that ABLE account before it would count as a resource for SSI determination purposes. So once that account reaches $100,000, any monthly SSI benefits that individual is receiving, those benefits are temporarily suspended until that account falls back down under the $100,000. So that is very, very important. Remember, we're at 17,000 a year, right? Or 30,000, depending on if they're working. Also, this is super important. Even if that account goes over 100,000, the Medicaid benefits always remain. Okay, so those will never go away. It's only the SSI that has that threshold of the 100,000. Countable income. What this is saying is individuals who are working are held, the money that goes into the ABLE account is still considered countable income for SSI determination purposes. So that just because it goes into the ABLE account, it's still being held to those standards through SSI. That's important to know as well. So the law says that the funds are to be used for what we call qualified disability expenses. So what really is a qualified disability expense? At the end of the day, the definition is, it relates to that individual's disability. It's to be used to maintain or improve their health, their independence, or their quality of life. Very, very, very broad definition of what is a qualified disability expense. This includes basic living expenses for the individual, as well. This could be clothing. This could be, a movie, that kind of thing. Anything related to their health, independence, or quality of life. As these are tax advantaged accounts, at the end of the day, these are, the IRS gives us categories to determine as what is a qualified disability expense. So here's some, examples of those categories. For example, education might be a disability related expense. Expenses related to housing. This could be a rent payment, a utility bill. These disability expenses are not, to be used solely for the benefit of that individual. And when I say that, for example, a housing expense, you could pay for a utility bill out of the ABLE account, even though the individual with a disability is living in the home and there's other people that are living in the home as well. You can still pay for that utility bill out because it is for that individual with a disability, right? Other examples, transportation. This could be a modification to a vehicle. This could be a vehicle, right? Quality of life. It could be an Uber fare. Certain employment training or support services that an individual might need to pay for. Assistive technology, personal support services. This could be specialized therapies that individual might need. It could be a screen reader to help them see visually. It could be an attendant. It could be a service dog, a vet bill for a service dog. So you kind of get the idea. They're very, very broad related to that individual. Also financial management, legal fees, oversight and monitoring, and also funeral and burial are considered disability related expenses. But at the end of the day, whoever's managing that account, whether it's that individual with the disability or that authorized legal rep, they are in charge of determining and making sure that it is to be used for that individual with the disability, and it is to be used to help or improve their quality of life. So I can answer more questions about that, the disability, if you guys have that at the end. Now, with all ABLE accounts, this is important because there is something called a Medicaid payback provision that are in ABLE, that applies to every ABLE account, whether you have one in another state or whether you have one in Texas. What this says is, in the event that the individual with the disability were to pass away, any funds, if that individual had been receiving Medicaid, right? Any funds that were paid by Medicaid during the time that the ABLE account was open, okay, not the lifetime of the individual, just the time that the ABLE account was open, that the state has the authority to recoup or ask for those funds back, only after a few things have happened. First, if they have paid for any outstanding, or they can pay for any outstanding disability expenses from the account, medical bills, that kind of thing. They can deduct any Medicaid buy-in premiums that they may have paid. And then again, funeral and burial are, considered a disability expense. So they could have a celebration of life for that individual, essentially paying down the account. Then at that point, the state has the authority to ask for those particular funds. Okay. And remember, depending on how much is in the account, it's only the lifetime or the time that the ABLE account was open. Very important to know. How we doing, Carrie? Doing good on time? Okay, good. All right, let's move into and talk a little bit about the Texas program. We touched on this earlier. You saw Glenn, the comptroller, talking about this. Our program launched in 2018, so we are a few years old, but we have had COVID and lots of Zoom virtual meetings getting information out. So we're finally back out spreading the good word about Texas ABLE. We administer it through the comptroller's office through our website. It's an online enrollment process, online account management. We have a customer service team that is available, bilingual as well. And again, that beneficiary or that individual with a disability has to be that Texas resident. Everything is done through our website, texasable.org. You don't have to upload anything when you enroll. So you walk through the process. It doesn't cost anything to enroll. But when you do get ready to make your first contribution, it is a minimum of $50. So a relatively low cost to get started in it. And then remember, up to that $17,000 a year. So $50 up to $17,000 a year. And then during the enrollment process, this is where families or whoever's enrolling into the program gets to select how they would like their funds saved. Okay, this is important. So whether I'm talking to a Zoom meeting or I'm talking to a group of parents, this is where I kind of get the glassy look because everybody goes, what does this really mean, Anna? What is the slide? During the enrollment, you get to choose from 5 options of how you want your funds saved. 4 of those options are what we call managed allocation options. So they're risk-based. They're based on the stock market. They range from aggressive to conservative. They're predetermined portfolios for you. So you decide where you want those funds to go. The 5th option is going to be the bank savings option. That is an FDIC insured option that is managed through our program as well. So these funds, just a side note, are the same funds that we use to manage the state college savings plans. So we have a bunch of really smart people that manage all this for us. And so they're all of this information can be found on our website, as well as the performance history of each one. So you can go and see how each one of those funds have performed to decide how you want to save. So you can choose from one option or a combination of the 5. So you could say, you know what, I just want to put 100% of my funds in that FDIC option and call it a day. Or I can, break it up into 50% and into moderate and 50% into conservative, however you want to do that. Also, by law, you can actually go in online and change those investment options up to twice a year. So you're in control of that as well. Again, all of this information can be found on our website. We also, our program has a really cool feature on our website. It's called an e-gift tool. And what this is it's a way for others to give to the account. Whoever's managing that account goes into the online account through texasable.org. They can actually send out an email to family or to friends, really anyone. And it invites that individual to make a contribution securely right back into that ABLE account. And what that does is that puts money in the ABLE account without having to hand money to that individual, because when you hand money to the individual, it is income for the individual. So it's a way to put money in holidays, birthdays, if you're saving for something, or really just because. It's just a way for folks to get that money back into the account. And we see a lot of our families utilize this. Using the account, putting money in the account, you could certainly write a check and, mail it into the program if you wanted to do that. But the easiest way is going to be through an automatic electronic contribution. So For example, this would be going into your personal checking or savings account like you have at Chase Bank. And you electronically send a contribution into that ABLE account, right? And then those funds are directly moved over into that ABLE account. You can set up a payroll deduction to have all or a portion of that individual's or an individual's payroll put directly into the account. You can set up an automatic contribution plan. So we see some families decide, you know what, every month they want to put in $100 into their ABLE account, or every quarter they want to put in, you know, $500, however they might, whatever they want to do. And then rolling over from a college savings plan. This is important. They changed the law a couple years ago to allow for those families who had set up college savings accounts, 529 accounts, that remember using those for higher education. These families can now move over those funds into an ABLE account, tax-free, rolling into the ABLE account, or still using it for education if they wanted, but now being able to open it up to be used for any disability related expense for that individual. So that was huge for a lot of families. The online e-gift I mentioned, and then the special needs trust. Some of our families do have their trusts written, you know, with an attorney to actually fund money into their ABLE account. You know, all or, you know, however much per year or however they want to do it. Because really the differences are, and I'm not an attorney, but the trust, you can put a lot more money in. There is someone that manages it. They're a little bit more costly. These ABLE accounts are very, you know, relatively low cost, low fee. And then you get control of using those funds, right? Taking the money out of the ABLE account is going to be very similar as far as electronic. You can certainly have a check executed from the account if you wanted to do that. But when you're ready to pay for those disability related expenses, you go into that online account, you make that withdrawal from the ABLE account. You can put it back into like a personal checking or savings, pay with your debit card. But I will tell you the easiest way to do it, and the way most of our families do it, are by using our prepaid card. We have a card through US Bank. It's called our Focus card. It is just for Texas ABLE account holders, and it only contains funds from the Texas ABLE account. So you go in online, you pull out $500, you withdraw it, you put it directly onto that prepaid card. And then you go out into the world and pay for your disability expenses that way, whether you're online, if you're paying for an expense through online as well. It works just like a Visa card. And US Bank has a very good mobile app as well as an online platform where you can go and look at the transactions, see how much is on the card and that kind of thing. So we see a lot of our families use that. It doesn't cost anything to have the Focus card as well. Important things about the withdrawals. Okay, so this is important because remember I said these are tax advantaged accounts. So at the end of the day, the IRS determines what is considered qualified and not qualified. And I said whoever's managing it has to justify, you know, or be able to have that receipt. On February 9th, I pulled out $50 to pay for a dental expense for my child. Here's my receipt, and just kind of have that and keep it aside. At the end of the day, if the IRS were to ever determine that it was considered a non-qualified withdrawal, you do have to pay income tax on that particular withdrawal, right? On the earnings of the account, and then an additional 10% penalty on that. And so we just ask that you maintain those records. We're not in the business of approving or denying how you're using the funds. So you get to decide that as far as the account itself. Now, there are fees to have an ABLE account, as these are investment accounts. They work similar to a checking account, but there's program management fees behind it. So it's $3.50 a month just to have an ABLE account, or roughly $42 a year is the amount to have an ABLE account here in Texas. All the states have these fees. As far as their administrative fees. There are some various fees if you want to have like a paper delivery of a document, that kind of thing. But most of it you can do online. You just go and print the documents out. With the $1.50 a month, you get 2 electronic withdrawals. This is important because anything over that, there is a fee, right? It's $1 a transaction. So this is where the debit card comes really handy for folks, because transferring out from that ABLE account directly onto that prepaid card is considered one withdrawal, one ACH withdrawal. And then after that, you can use the debit card as much as you'd like with no fees. So that's important to note. And then no fees for if you want to roll over from that college savings plan, or from another, if you want to come to Texas, if you have an account somewhere else, we'll help you make all that happen. On our website, we have a section, what we call it just a resources section. And I like to give this information to folks because I talk really fast, number one, and I covered a lot of information, but I talked about a lot of different agencies. As we're the state comptroller's office, I talked about the Social Security Administration. We talked about Medicaid, Medicare. We talked about the IRS. And so it's important to note that all of these agencies have, guidelines that the way they treat ABLE programs. So I want you to go out there and be able to look at it and say, oh, wait, this really, these programs are here. So we provide this, in the spirit of transparency for all, everyone to see, that these links are to each one of those agencies in the way, and you can find information on ABLE accounts there. The second to the last link there is it's a link from the Texas State Securities Board, and it's just kind of some good information on investing 101 for someone who might be new to that. And then also the ABLE National Resource Center. That is a website that's sort of, they have information on all things ABLE, but for other states as well, but lots of good webinars, point papers, and just general information on how people use ABLE accounts. We provide that for you as well on our website. Before we get to our Q&A, I want to leave you with all my contact information. I mentioned earlier that we do have a customer service team Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. You can call them, you can email them, you can say, I did not understand a word that Anna said, and I need some clarification, and they would be happy to help you, or just for any little question that you have about ABLE or have questions during the enrollment process. And then for outreach opportunities, parent groups, church groups, anybody that you feel like would be interested in learning about ABLE, send them our way. This is what we do. We can send out information to them. We can come to you. We can do virtual presentations as well. On our website, we do monthly webinars. So if you're interested in that, through our comptroller's office, we have an events page where you can register for our monthly webinars as well. And that link there is found on the slide here. I talk fast. I think I did pretty good as far as time, Carrie. How are we doing?
Yeah, you did great. Okay. Awesome. Well, I will just read off some of the questions. Some of them you may have kind of addressed, but we'll kind of maybe do a summary. One of the last questions was Edward asked if they can receive a recording of this presentation via email. Yes, everybody who registered today, I am going to, I'll receive Anna's the PowerPoint slides, and then this video, when it's done processing, I will shoot an email out to you all with the link to watch the video, as well as the PowerPoint presentation, so you can kind of cull over it again. Like Anna was saying, stop and look at some of those great slides that she has that gives that information. So that will be going out to you all hopefully by tomorrow. Give me a little bit of time to process the video. So some of the questions were, please address how ABLE accounts are managed under a guardianship. So any other special considerations for if the person has a guardianship that you might want to mention?
It would just be under that guardian would fall under the authorized legal representative. So they would just, they would manage it on their behalf, just to be able to, I know that there's some, and I'm not different ways of different types of guardianship. And so I don't really want to, go into that whole thing, but certainly a guardian would certainly qualify as an authorized legal representative. So they could certainly open it and manage it for them.
Right. And then I think you touched on this as well, but converting a current 529 account to an ABLE account, I guess, that is something that's possible.
Absolutely. We have a rollover form that is on our website. We can help you with that. The way it works is obviously you're still going to be held to those maximum contributions for the year. So depending on how much is in that college savings account, the maximum you can go into the ABLE account is going to be that 17,000. So we'll help you with that as far as getting that rollover done. And then to make sure that to keep you nice and clean as far as the tax implications. And then you can also turn around if there happens to be more than 17,000, you would turn around in the next taxable year and roll over the additional amount into the ABLE account, but we can help you with that.
Gotcha. Another question is about who manages the investment of funds.
Yep. Yes. We administer it through the comptroller's office. We have a program manager who's Orion Advisor Solutions. They are a program manager that kind of does all the back end record keeping on the program, but the funds themselves are like I mentioned earlier, are managed through our office, and they're the same funds that we use for the college savings 529 plans here in Texas. So some of you may be familiar with the Texas Tomorrow Fund or the Texas Tuition Promise Fund. Those are the same funds. We have a board, a prepaid higher education tuition board that actually oversees that, and they manage all of those funds.
Okay, good. Another one was whether or not there's a debit card that for expenses to the account, and I think answered that question. Yes, there is. If the ABLE account holder dies, where do the remaining funds go?
Yes. They would go through the normal estate process. However, it's set up for that individual with the disability.
Okay. After that Medicaid reimbursement process, right? Yeah.
After the Medicaid reimbursement process. And again, remember that that's for any ABLE program. So if they have one in another state, it would still apply for the Texas Medicaid.
Another question is, if they were to open an ABLE account for their young child, what happens when that child turns 18? What happens to the ABLE account?
Well, and remember that the owner of the account always is the individual with the disability. So even when you open it, so even that child would still be the owner of the account when the account's opening it. You as a parent or a guardian would be just managing it for them. And you could certainly, if depending on your situation, if that's the way you wanted to continue it, you certainly could do that. But it's certainly up to you and your situation, and depending on, however you want to manage it into the future.
Okay, so even if maybe the child is 8 years old, the account is opened, child turns 18, because I know sometimes with accounts there might be some switching of, you were a minor when the account was open and your parents were on the account, now they don't have to be on the account, but I guess all of that is kind of worked out when the ABLE account is established.
Yes, it's that federal law trumps it all, because that individual is the owner of the account, no matter what age they are. And it's a little bit different. The college savings plans, just a side note, whoever opens those accounts, they're the owner of the account, the person that opens. So if grandma opens one for the child, grandma's the owner of the account, right? And these are a little bit different in the fact that grandma can open one and be their authorized legal rep, but that child or that individual with a disability is always the owner, no matter what age they are.
All right, real good. Another question is it advisable to keep a 529 plan and an ABLE account at the same time?
Well, I can't really advise you as to
right.
but certainly it depends on your situation, right? If it's something that you feel like you were going to use, you could certainly pay for disability or education expenses out of the ABLE account. So I mean, in my situation, I would, if you were going to use it for other things than education, I would transfer it into the ABLE account.
Right, because that strict 529 is only going to be
That's
education related
just
expenses.
higher education and related expenses, correct?
That does sound like maybe that'd be a great question for maybe a financial advisor that knows their specific financial situation or the child's needs.
Absolutely. And again, that is considered not financial advice, but yeah, certainly something to consider both.
Very good. All right. Another question is, does SSI have to be notified once an ABLE account is opened?
That's a great question. Yes. As program administrators, we here at the comptroller, we are required by law to monthly report those that information to the Social Security Administration. So the account owner, the account number, the amount that's in the account, the distributions, all that information we have to report every month to the Social Security Administration, because we're constantly sharing information with them.
Okay, so that's something you all do. That's not something that the parent or person with a disability has to worry about doing.
From a program standpoint, that's what we do. I will tell you that, I know that parents are required to, send other information quarterly or however they are required by law to Medicaid and SSI and that kind of thing. But from a program standpoint, we would do that here from the program level.
Gotcha. About what's in the ABLE account, because that's I'm sure that's how Social Security knows, hey, you've reached that 100,000 threshold, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, great questions, guys. Oh my gosh. All right. So those are all the ones that are in the chat. If anybody, we've got just a couple minutes. If you want to unmute and feel free to ask a question to Anna, feel free to do that. All great questions.
All really, really good questions. You got some smart cookies in here. Good question.
Yeah.
And again, I was just gonna say, I know we covered a lot. So I mean,
yes,
you can reach out at any time to, for any other clarification that you might need. I'm happy to help.
So maybe one another just different kind of question about those young adults who are working and they have the ABLE account in their name. As a practical matter, what do you all kind of see are a lot of people taking advantage of that, where they're putting their full paycheck into the ABLE account, kind of maxing out that 30,000 max a year? I mean, what?
I don't have really the stats as far as how much, ABLE contributions, or work contributions are going into the account, but I do know that folks are utilizing it for that purpose. Our online platform, when they enroll in the program, they can elect to either choose to put money in through that, what we call the ABLE to work contributions, or just to, elect to have it through the regular 17,000. So there's an option to where you can kind of toggle it on and off. But I don't have those stats to where I could, share them. But I do know that many folks utilize them and the being able to put at least a portion of their payroll into them.
Okay. And kind of a related question just kind of popped up. So if you can put your employment wages into an ABLE account, can you also contribute either Social Security or SSDI supplemental? Okay. So both of those can also be added to the ABLE account?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. All or a portion. Absolutely.
Okay, as long as they're keeping in mind to not go over the max of 17,000 a year for those type of contributions, plus the 13,000 for employment wages.
Yes. And I will tell you that our online system is designed for those thresholds for those individuals to not exceed those thresholds. So when your account gets to 16,999, it's going to actually send an email to the individual who's managing that account, and it actually won't accept more than the 17,000 because we know once it goes over the 17,000, it's considered accountable resource. So we will actually take that, we'll put it like in a non-interest bearing checking account and we'll notify them and actually get it back to that individual because we don't want that to happen. So there's thresholds built in for the annual limits as well as that $100,000 limit. And certainly the, the 500,000 as well. But yes, all of that is, we're very mindful of that, and have those safeguards built in.
And so a good safety net for
Yep.
over contributing, but then of course whoever's helping manage this just has to make sure that those expenses are going to qualified disability expenses so that they, yes, keep track of that. Right. And here's another, do we get interest on an ABLE account savings? So the savings account, just the FDIC, is there interest on that savings account?
There is, it's minimal. It's very, very minimal. And that information can be found under the investment performance on our website. And so you can look at the historical, performance of each one of those funds, including the FDIC insured option. And you can do it by, I think it's a week, 3 months, up to, I think 2 years, I believe is as far as you can go back.
And here's another great question about transferring, since you mentioned, other states may have allowed some of the Texas residents to have an ABLE account under their state account. If there's a person who already has another state's ABLE account currently, are they able to elect to transfer that here to a Texas ABLE account if they'd like to? And if so, what does that transition process look like?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all done by contacting that other program administrator, and we can help facilitate that through that rollover form, just like we talked about for the 529. It's the same type of rollover. We can help. And I had mentioned earlier that, all these programs are designed, with the same elements. And they're really, at the end of the day, the investment options as well as those administrative fees are going to be the differences. So if they did have one in another program, we could certainly help roll that over and get that done for them so they could be in the Texas program. We'd love to help facilitate that.
Great. Well, wonderful. Great questions, guys. And I see again another question about getting a recording of the video today. Absolutely. If you all join today, I have your email addresses. I will send you all a copy out of Anna's great presentation and all those slides, and also the recording of this video. So, well, there's that customer service team number. If you have any additional questions, please reach out. We're so thankful for you spending your time today with us today, Anna. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and allowing me to be here and share some good info with you.
Great, great. All right, y'all. Well, Anna, I know you've got another engagement to hop off to. So thank you again for your time.
Okay. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.